Here we go. What's up, all you cool cats and kittens? Really been looking forward to saying that. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably my favorite new catchphrase, and a disturbing documentary. If you want to be seriously troubled and lose sleep at night, that's all we'll talk about the Tiger King. So this is wishing I was fishing. That's not all we're going to talk about. I'm gonna tell you, it'll come up again probably when we start talking about John Cox's hair and the options we have there. So anyway, back to wishing I was fishing. That's what we're going to be doing here mostly today. I'm Shaye Baker. We got John Cox coming on that we've just alluded to. Yeah, should be a pretty good show. John's a good dude, great fisherman. Really impressed with how he has taken the forgotten shallows that were overlooked for the more attractive new lady in the group that was ledge fishing there for a while, and then all of a sudden John goes to win a bunch of stuff back up by the bank, and I think he got a little bit of a crowd back up there with him now. But we'll talk about some of that kind of stuff. Do a little Q&A, break down somebody's water. We put out a request on my Instagram asking for people to tell us water they'd like for us to break down. So John and I will go on the ANGLR app and break down the water. We're going to do Yatesville Lake in Kentucky. So that'll be pretty cool. Sent in by Hunter Massey. So next week, usually around Wednesday, I'll throw up something on my Instagram and my story and ask for lakes that y'all would like to see broken down by myself and the guests for the show. So one of the things we want to ask y'all to do is share this. You know, it's on Facebook Live on the English page. You're obviously looking at it if you're seeing this, but we really need help getting the word out about it. Share it. You can start a watch party. We've got 6 episodes lined up to do, and after that, it's really dependent on the audience. So if y'all want to see more of this kind of stuff, if you're enjoying it, we really got to have your help sharing it. Might even start incorporating some prizes into that kind of deal to incentivize folks. But right now, we just want you to do it out of the goodness of your heart. You know, that's what it's all about. It's the goodness of your heart. So we'll talk about some stuff that's happened out there. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we got. Now it's time to bring our guest in, you know, without further ado, except for there will be about 3 seconds of further ado. What's going on, John?
Hey, man, what's happening?
Man, dude, I don't even want to go anywhere into this without looking at that hair again.
Oh, man, look at this mess.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
That right there.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm going to have to buzz it, but I want to get one tournament in with it. So, you know, hopefully we'll get back soon before it gets too long, and we'll see how that one tournament goes, and then we'll go from there.
I'm an eternal optimist, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be touching your shoulders before fishing a big hair. So,
oh boy, I hope not, man. I'm ready to get back at it.
That's the silver lining to me, bro. Like, I don't want it to last any longer than it's got to, but see that hair get down there? I don't know, man. That'd be pretty sick. But anyway.
Oh, man.
How's it going? How's life in DeBerry, Florida?
You know, it's going good. I mean, we've been fishing a ton, and well, not a ton. We've been doing a lot of work around the house. You know, I mean, it's unreal. It's like we're at Lowe's every day. You know, getting something to work on and getting some fishing in between. But yeah, it's going. It's not bad though.
I want you guys to send in your questions. We're gonna have some Q&A throughout this with John Cox. Ask him whatever you'd like. Hopefully PG-13 or
right.
Derek Corner with Angler. He's going to be in the background finding us some stuff to put out some answers to you guys. So we're going to do a little Q&A. Everybody go out there and comment along on the commenting part, and we'll do some answering on our part. So what do you think? One of the cool things about your little setup down there is you got a pond in your backyard. And I don't know if you guys follow John on Instagram or any other social media, but you need to. And I'll show you why here in just a second as John kind of tells us about what we're watching here. This is, and I'll tell you a little something else in a minute. I'm kind of leading up to that, but this is a video on his Instagram here. What are we watching here?
So this is my backyard. So this is kind of what we do when we get bored is we go out there out back and we feed the fish, and it's incredible. It's hard to get any work done at my house. I mean, it is. I found myself today. I was ripping out a sink in the garage, and I got halfway through ripping it out, and I was in the backyard feeding the fish. You know, so it was just it's just so neat to go down there and feed them. I mean, it's something that, you know. I mean, I remember, you know, at the zoo, you'd put a quarter in the machine and get the fish food would come out, and you throw it into the the fish that were the tilapia and stuff inside the alligator pens. So, ever since then, I just love feeding the fish.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably bring this up because I went down to DeBerry, Florida, where John Cox lives, and I was going to buy, or did buy, one of his Crestliner boats from him. And one of the parts of that I really wanted to, be the main reason I came and bought the boat, to be honest with you, is because I want to feed you fish. No, but it was
that seems to be a thing every year I sell a boat. That's part of the deal. They come down and we feed the fish and then they head on out.
It was a pretty awesome perk. And I'm going to pull up a little video here. This is my dad filmed this of me with a piece of fried chicken that was apparently left over in John Cox's dinner. And Dad filmed this with an iPhone of me. And I had worked for FLW and Bass, and you'll see the Bass Center from the top right here. There's his head coming in, and it's in slow motion. But I filmed everybody, shot pictures of some of the greatest, John included, Kevin Van Dam, Rick Clunn. Done a lot of stuff. All the impressions, views. That's like 10 hours. But all the impressions and views and everything stacked up. I don't know if y'all can see this right here, but this video trumps all of it. This is an iPhone video posted on my Instagram that fed into Facebook. I didn't even post it on Facebook. And on Facebook, it got 4.3 million views. That is so frustrating. I worked so hard on other content. And that right there, I mean, that dominated all of it. It was a pretty awesome moment. I can't lie. So, yeah. And I mean, obviously, of that 4.3 million, I'm 1.6 million. Well,
yeah, I was going to think I might have been a million of that in there somewhere.
That's pretty nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
So what happened with those fish? Did they just show up one day and you started feeding them, or what?
I honestly bought the house because I went in the backyard, and like my first cast in the backyard, we hooked a 9 or 10 pounder. So like I didn't even want to see inside the house. And I was like, I'll take it. I didn't even know when we bought the house. It was like it looked like it went back to the 70s in there. So it was, but the lake is awesome, and it just those fish just over time, and it's amazing how they all have different personalities. I mean, some will eat chicken, some will eat bologna, some will just eat bluegills. It's just it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty. And you had one in there at one point. It was like 13 pounds or something, right?
Oh yeah, I had one, probably one of the biggest ones I've ever seen, and man, I was just feeding it, and I was like, man, we might get a record out of this one. And then one day she disappeared. might have fed it too much pizza or something. I don't know. Might have done it in.
And the way you know how much it weighs is not because you caught it. You caught it, but with your bare hands. Am I right?
Yeah. I've grabbed a couple of them with my hands, and I mean, it was just, I shocked myself, when I got a hold of them, but then I kind of, shoved the brim back in their mouth and kind of felt bad and let them go,
Insane. Pretty nice. But yeah, so one of the things I want to talk to you about, this used to happen a pretty good bit, where anglers would sign up for both the FLW Tour and the Elite Series.
Right.
And it really doesn't happen anymore, mainly because it's scheduled on top of each other most of the time. Mm-hmm. And you made what some would consider a pretty brave decision, because you knew at some point the road would fork and you couldn't fish both. So you're dumping money into deposits that you're not going to get back.
Right.
But you doubled down, and it ended up being probably the smoothest move of anybody this year, because first of all, the roads never forked because it stopped completely. So they never even came to that point where there was a decision, FLW or Bass. But you won the first FLW at Sam Rayburn. That was the first one. That was the only one, right? The only one they had this year.
No, we had Rayburn and two more. We had Harris and then we barely got Martin in there at the end.
That's right. I forgot about
it. Yeah, the Bass is the only one we got the one in.
That's right. So Sam Rayburn, go out there. Just no big deal.
No, it's crazy. I get there at Rayburn and I go to dump the boat in, and it's like my first tournament without Benji. Benji traveled with me for the last 5 or 6 years, and so I'm trying to, it's flooded. I'm trying to get the boat off the trailer. I can't get it off. The current's ripping. I'm trying to finally get in it, go to crank it up, and it wouldn't start. And I was like, oh my gosh. I got it on the trailer, and going through everything, can't figure it out. I'm like, but I've always had my Mercury always start. I'm like, it's got to be something simple. And what ended up happening, a rat or something somehow, or a squirrel got into the side of the boat, and ate one of the wires up. Once I fixed it, I was able to get back out the next day and get a good day of practice in. And man, I was just trying to survive that tournament. It was incredible.
Yeah, you survived all right. If you had out and practice that first day, you probably would have found something that would have thrown you off. That's
100%. I thought of that too. I'm like, it was probably because I put in so far up that river, and I was like, gosh, if I find him up here. But I was kind of glad I didn't have to go way up there.
yeah. That sounds like something that would happen to you. Something get in your boat and chew a wire into.
Yeah. And honestly, okay, now this is what's crazy. So at the Red River tournament in 2011, on the final day of practice, the exact same thing. Motor would not crank, and a squirrel got in there and ate the exact same section of wire. So it was just like I didn't see it coming at the beginning of the week, but then once the week ended, I was like, oh man, should have known. It's crazy.
Not for nothing. They actually, working on a farm where I do, there are these little packs of like rat repellent that you can zip tie under. And like they'll chew wires up on lawnmowers and trucks and tractors when you don't use them very often.
Right.
It's actually like rat, and you probably need to get that. You might even want to get sponsored by them. That'd probably be a good sponsor. Like
right.
throwing rat repellent and just zip tie
right.
your boat, your fishing reel.
Right. Oh man.
Well, let's see. Let's move to. Oh, let's see, Derek. You got any questions over here for us? Let me see.
I see. Damon, my buddy Damon, wants to know, or he wants to know if I really like corn dogs. Of course, I do.
That's it. All right. No back there at all. Just random question from a guy I know that wants to know if I like corn dogs. And yes, I do.
Oh man.
I me a Bill Engvall. He told a joke one time about this guy caught this goofy looking fish, and he's sitting there in a bucket, and the guy walks up and is like, "You catch that fish?" He said, "Nah." He said, "What is that?" And he's like, "I don't worry about it." And fish looks at him, he's like, "I'm a dork fish." And he's like, "Dork fish? What do you catch those on?" Believe it or not, I caught me on corn dog. Corn dog on the bottom of the ocean. I'm like, "What's this corn dog doing here?" But you know me, I love him corn dogs. It's a stupid as crap, but it was pretty funny. So yeah, I like corn dogs.
Right.
What kind of weedless, wacky hook on a Cinco do you like?
I for the longest time, I go back and forth from a bunch of different ones. The one I feel like it's the most reliable is a Berkeley 19 Fusion, just a finesse wide gap. I like the 1/0 to number one, depending on how clear the water is. I mean, it seems like with that finesse wide gap, it kind of keeps the hook from hooking itself as much as some of the ones. A lot of guys like a longer shank on the hook. I fished with Dudley back in October, and he was cracking on me for how small my wacky rig hook was. And then here's the master of the wacky rig, telling me I'm doing it wrong. So my head's been like, I've been trying the big hook and stuff, and I just don't like it.
What about, so we've been talking about Lowrance ghost story. The first episode we did a Lowrance ghost story where we talked about the ghost trolling motor. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, though, relative to Lowrance, because that's one of your sponsors too, is how, you're a shallow water guy now, but there are obviously ways that you can use electronics up shallow too. So how do you use it for the way you fish?
So a lot of times I have the hardest time keeping the transducer on the boat, going back into some of these backwaters and stuff, and I get, ripping it off. But what I normally do, I keep it kicked up, and then where it does come into play, for instance, like when we were at Chick, I think for the Bass Open, it was a little bit later in the season. The spawn was getting over with. I was looking for bluegill beds, and the water was kind of stained to where you couldn't like visually see the bluegill beds. And with the structure scan, I was just that's actually I think I caught a 9 and I think 3 7s off that spot in that tournament. And it was crazy is that I couldn't visually see them, but I could idle in that shallow water with my side scan on and pick up those bluegill beds and mark a point on each side of them. And then I'd just go back and I would just sneak up on them every morning and throw in there, and I'd catch one or two big ones.
That's pretty sick. So
Yeah, I mean, and it took a lot of like I didn't pick up on it I think till day two, but I just kept idling and idling like and just like when I think those guys, what I imagine what the offshore thing is when you do find one or find that spot, it might take a day or two to find it, but when you find it, it's some the needle in the haystack.
and while I was looking around, I mean, conveniently had that. I didn't set you up or anything for that perfect time, but while I was looking around for that kind of stuff on Instagram, I actually found this, and that is an offshore. Is that like a foot and a half deep? How deep is that right there?
Those bluegill beds, I think it was about 5.5, 6 feet.
I mean, look at this right here. Can you
Oh,
see?
that was so that was probably one of the deepest schools of smallmouth I have ever found. I think. Let me see. Is that
That's at the Eastern Open on
um
11th.
yeah, that's Champlain, right?
Yeah,
I
Charlotte
think
Douglas
that's
International Airport is where the post came from.
yeah, I was probably flying home or something because I was thinking I don't know unless that was Douglas. I don't know, but that is probably one of the best. I'm pretty sure that's Champlain. I think that was a giant school of big smallmouth, and I pulled up day one, yeah, in the open, and like I don't know what I'm doing. I saw that, I marked it. I got out there in the morning and I dropped straight down to it, and the first one I caught was like a 5.25, 5.5. I think it was big fish. Of that day, and end up having like 21 pounds off that exact little spot. But I don't really. It's. I mean, I was like, I guess I'll try to idle, and that might have been the like 30 minutes in. And I found that luckily, because otherwise I would have just been going to the bank and fish some docks or something.
The moral of the story there is, guys, you better hope John stays on the bank because it's going out deep. It's not going to be good for you either. Yeah, but
I don't know.
yeah, that's pretty nice. That was a nice little. And I'm not good at finding schools offshore either. I've never been. I like to fish shallow, but I don't have the success you do. I mean, How does that happen? How have you figured out a way to explain how you are better shallow?
Uh, the only thing I can think of is what I do. That's really hard to do. It's hard to do mentally. It's hard to go in and fish an area and visually look in an area, not get a bite, not see a fish, and just feel it like, hey, this spot has potential.
Yeah.
If something happens, something changes, they are going to get here, and I look for that in practice. And 90% of the time when you get in that area and you got that gut feeling like they're here, they should be here, and they're not biting. It's just that you're in there in the wrong time or whatever. And that's when I take my Lowrance and I'll type myself a note and actually say, hey, no fish or whatever, but to remind myself to come back. Whatever I feel like the conditions might need to, if I'm in that area and it's bluebird skies and there's no wind and it's calm and I don't see any life, but it has the right stuff,
Mhm.
whether it's pads or the bottom's good or some kind of grass, or bluegills, if there's a bunch of bluegills or bait, I'll either come back and try to, when I feel like they're really feeding, I'll come back and try that area during the tournament.
What's your favorite type of gas station?
Man, that's I don't know. It's a toss up between Wawa and the come and goes.
Wawa is what my youngest niece says when she's thirsty. What is Wawa?
Yeah, yeah. Wawa's got everything. The problem is when you go into Wawa, you go in there and I mean, you're not only getting gas, you're getting your food for the day, your snacks. I mean, it can be an expensive stop.
It's pretty wild now because I mean we took so much for granted before, just walking in the gas station like nothing's going on, picking up, pumping gas,
Oh, I know it.
not worried about gloves and
Hmm.
Purell, and it's wild time. Man, you throw
I
them
know it. It's
fast
crazy.
and you're good.
Yeah, I'm hoping things get better quick, and man, I don't know. It's just we'll see. Hopefully.
Uh, let's see here what old Chris Flay says. Ask John if he thinks it's harder for a southern angler to go north or vice versa, and why.
I don't know. Um my first bass tournament I went to was a Southern Open on Eufaula, and I went there and I did really well. and I wanted to fish more after that, so I did. I jumped in the northerns, and went and fished the whole northern opens, and had no transducer. I don't even think I had a graph. I actually, the boat I used at the first southern ended up blowing up on me, so I had to borrow boats through all the northern season. And man, I'm telling you, I just feel like when you go north, I think for me it seems like when I get out of Florida, it's you're able to catch them good. Like there's just a lot of fish, there's a lot of patterns. It's Florida's kind of tough. Florida's, you got to put the trolling down and fish, and a lot of lakes are just bowls and stuff. So I mean, I think it is. I think it's easier for a guy that lives down here. We're getting more time to fish, than up north. They're frozen a lot of the time. So I think, if you live down south, I think you're able to go north and somewhat compete. I mean, you're not going to compete with those guys that are just crushing the big smallmouth and stuff.
Yeah.
And occasionally, I think you might be able to get in there and get in, do good in a tournament or two. But it's a whole nother smallmouth thing's a whole nother. I've fished with Jeremy Starks a lot, and he's tried to teach me the whole smallmouth thing, and it's mind blowing, how different those fish are.
One of the things about Florida fishing, I think I'd like to see what you think about it, but like it gets so tough down there on the cold front and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all have to be finessey, like with a speed worm and
Right.
throw up there and let it sit for however long and all that exhausting stuff that I hate doing. Like down there. I ain't doing for 30 minutes, don't catch anything, and I don't do it anymore. And the guy would turn it that way. But that has to help when you move north. And so say you go to Champlain and they're biting like crazy in Ticonderoga in the cheap, that's good. But when they're not biting, it's tough. You're better equipped to slow down, would you say?
Yeah, I would say, and then also just the whole. It seems like your windows in Florida are really small. Like you'll fish all day and you'll catch all your fish in a 45 to an hour window. Of when you really get into them. So I just feel like it's just feel like when you get up north around there, if you're in an area and you're not getting bit, you need to move because they're biting somewhere.
Yeah. What's your most memorable Florida win and why?
I don't think I've won any big ones in Florida.
What's your most memorable? You've won, sure.
I've won. So we won. Me and Keith won the Wolfson. That was an incredible tournament. It goes out of Placa. There's like 450 boats in it. You always think like, oh, we'll go fish it, for fun, but we're never going to win that thing. There's so many boats in it. And we ran pretty much as far as I think we got gas in the Crestliner like probably 3 times going down there. We get all the way down to our fish. And in like the first one we pull up on, I throw out, and when I'm setting the hook, Keith nets it, and it's like a 7.5. And when we get in the boat, his rod's going over the side, and I net his fish, and it's like a 7.5. And we end up catching like 30 something pounds and making it all the way back and win that tournament. And then, I mean, it was just, and we even got stopped by the game warden, and Keith was driving, and I was like, listen, I told him to slow down that last turn. I said, take him to jail. I got to weigh these fish. And then the guy was just looking at us. He's like, you got him? I'm like, yeah, we got 30. And boy, that guy, we were like, this guy, he wrote everybody tickets. Like, we're like, he's going to make us throw our fish back. He's like, you boys will make it if you take off right now. And boy, we didn't look back, and we took off, and we made it to weigh in. That by far, that has to be, and you got to imagine this too, because we fished that tournament 3 times before that, and we never even made it back. We would get down there, and then we just would not make it back, and we'd have to get someone to drive us up, get the trailer, and come back. So to be able to go down there, catch them, and make that ride back and forth, I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, when the game warden says you make it if you take off right now, I'd be the butt part, like, and you're already off. You don't know if
gone. We never looked back.
Yeah,
we were like both shocked that he actually said that. But
well, tell us, all you fans out there, you cool cats and kittens. I think I might just adopt that. But y'all tell us what y'all's favorite story is, favorite Florida fishing trip. See if you can get John all riled up about some lake down there or wherever you fish. Let us know what your favorite fishing story is, and we'll move on to the next segment, which is the Mercury Moment. So, Mercury Moment, Mercury's helping us kind of spread the word about this deal too. And for you, I don't know how you don't blow a motor up every day because you're doing stuff like this, and that's not what they were designed to do, John. I don't know if they ever told you it's made to run in water. That is running through a yard. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah, that was actually, I took the Bass Hawk to Rayburn because it gets kind of rough, and we got there and the water was like 16 feet high, and that's when I realized that deep V, it isn't for just catching walleye. I mean, that thing can go back and it's like a tank, and with that motor, I think there I got the 200 Verado on that one. Boy, that motor, I thought that motor was just such an awesome motor, never overheated. I mean, occasionally would if you ran it out of the water too long, but
Yeah.
it just always went, and now with the new 200, I have the Pro XS on the Bass Hawk, and then I have the regular 200 four stroke on the PT20, and I mean they're just amazing, man. I'm telling you, it's just they just keep going and going, and man, I've had no issues. I mean, it's just it's when you got to make sure you come back every time, and make it the weigh-in, because of the way our points are and stuff, and you have to make it in every time. I mean, it's got to be the most reliable motor out there.
And John, you're always looking for uncharted water. I'm gonna tell you right here. All right, I got an old Marine buddy that told me you don't get Dorset, and I don't think that's gonna work out right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was I think that might have been what was that? I was up at Cherokee, I
Yeah,
think, and boy, I was just, that place is so full of fish, and I was like, there's got to be some kind of backwater that might have a little better quality, and boy, I just never found it.
I mean, you're after my own heart because I love it too, but I don't think that was even a serious attempt. I hope it was, but I don't
No,
know.
I was just looking for something. We were struggling. I had no fish pictures, nothing. I was like, oh,
I'll have a hard time skipping in that culvert right there, much less trying to go through it.
right, right.
So, uh, let's get back on the Mercury moment here and talk us through what's happening here, John.
So this one's kind of awful. I was kind of not sure if I even wanted to post this one, but they that might have just voided all my warranty. But they
Well, do you always run with your power pole half cocked like that?
no, what it was is there was another tree
Oh,
back behind there. I couldn't get it by, and Benji was like, "Just put your pole down a little bit." So I had to actually pull the fuse out of the one side and leave the fuse in the on the passenger side and put it down just a little bit. And gosh, man, I mean, that looks like we might have got to like an amazing spot, but it was a dead end.
yeah. But those moves right there have paid off before.
Yeah,
What's
without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not often, but when they do pay out, they pay off big time. I mean, that's been some of my best wins. Well, two of them I can think of. They were way back off the beaten trail.
Now you were telling me about the one on the Red River where you would run over a beaver dam.
Oh yeah. So that was so the Red River one. The first day we would go. I went through the culvert pipe in the crest liner. That was incredible. That I even made it through each day with the water dropping. But the final day we had to go to a ranger, and so the day before I knew the water was dropping, so I took my 75 Mercury and I trimmed it all the way down, and I just cut me a trail in the bottom of the mud, just floored it back and forth and cleared it out. So I come back the next day in the Ranger, and all there is, because they told me, they're like, if there's not a stream of water coming across, you can't jump it in the boat. And when I got there was just that motor trail that I made the day before. So I got a run and start in FLW's Ranger, and came around that corner and went to hit that little stream and missed it completely. Just jumped right over the land into the pond, and then ended up winning the tournament.
That about does it for the Mercury moment. What yeah, and I mean honestly, like that is some of the truest testaments. The fact you haven't knocked off lower units, blown up motors, you should be able to destroy one just about every time you go. So you
Right.
3 derbies in one, you've done pretty good.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. What about we got a couple more questions here from the crowd. Anybody wants to ask a question, just go ahead and shoot it on over here in the comments. We got Mike. Mike, we'll go with Mike. If you could only have 3 rods on the deck and 1 in hand, what would they be, and what baits are you going with on each? Mike K asks.
Okay, so if I'm guessing
Oh,
the one
I
the
would.
one in my hand, I guess, would have to be a Berkeley Maxent General, either wacky rig or Texas rig. And my other 3 rods, just because that bait catches them everywhere. It's just, if I need to get a bite, that's what I'll tie on to get a bite.
Yeah.
The other 3 rods would definitely have to be a Dirty Jig swim jig with a Maxent meaty chunk on it, and that would be like my bait to cover a ton of water. To just put the trolling motor on high and move, and then I'd probably mix in a Berkeley Jaywalker and to cover a lot of water, and probably a chatterbait. I'd have to have a chatterbait in there, mixed in there.
I like it. I like it. What about what's your largest Florida bass, and what did you catch it on?
Geez, the largest one I weighed in was last year at the Toho tournament. It was like 10 and change, and like I was out sight fishing and
10 and change.
like what I caught, like I had like 20 something pounds already, so I'm pumped. I had 10 minutes to come in, and I just threw my worm out, like I did like a half, like end of the day cast or whatever, and I catch this giant one, and ended up having like 30 something pounds. So that was my most memorable one for sure. But I do think I caught one on a shiner one time. I didn't have a scale, but I mean its eyeballs were like, his eyeballs were like that. It was a great big one. I don't know how big it was.
Well, let's we can kind of keep with the same theme here. We're talking about a lot of this stuff anyway, so let's move into the tips and tricks segment of the show. Do a little tips and tricks. John, you like to fish shallow. You got some baits set up in there, and we've kind of alluded to a couple of them.
Right.
What you got there for us to look at?
So I guess what I did was I was thinking off that the screenshot of when I won Chick in the Open where the bluegill beds were, and just a way that I was approaching some of those fish, like where I knew if I knew where those bluegill beds were, what I would do is I would take the Berkeley spin rocket, and this is what I would slow down with this one. If I knew where the bluegill beds were, I'd really just throw this out. I'd have it on like some 15-pound big game mono, the old big game. That's still my favorite for throwing top waters. And I would honestly let it sit in over a lot of those areas and work it really slow, and it would get them to come up. And what I really like about this bait is, I don't know if you can hear it, but like, normally a devil's horse is just all wood. It's got no sound. This one's got a little bit of rattle in it. So when that thing is sitting still and it's just back and forth, those little BBs are moving around, and man, it really attracts them to come over and smoke that thing. And then that picture there with the bobber stops, that is another really cool way to keep your line from getting in the prop. And it just keeps it a little straighter. It doesn't seem like it affects them from getting the bait or anything. And man, I've caught so many big fish on that bait this year and last year, and it's just an awesome bait.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things to me. I shot this photo when I came down to get the crest liner, and we're going to do some articles, and we still will. I've got a bunch of stuff that I got to work on, but like that, I remember seeing the bobber stoppers on there, and I was like, I wonder if he just, had a take
had a flipping weight on there earlier.
Cut it off to tie this on for us for the article right quick, and he's like, I'm going to go ahead and leave my bobber stop, but you do that to get the line out there, because that braid being more flimsy than the heavier, mono, it will get tangled up in those props, and that's a pretty slick little trick right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one, that's a good one there. And I mix it up some. Sometimes I'll throw 30 and 40 pound braid with it and use the bobber stops, and then sometimes I'll just do straight 15.
I'd say one of the questions people would have is, when do you use which? So when do you use the braid?
So what I do, I like the 15 big game when we're in really super clear water situations, and not like clear water with a lot of hydrilla and stuff. When you have all that cover around, I like the braid a lot better, especially when you get them on. It seems like you can fight them a little bit better in the real nasty grass and stuff. But more, the monos in open water, like, if I'm fishing like 6 to 7 feet of water, and it's just clear, they're going to come up and really get a good look at it. That's when I like the mono.
I got you. All right. What else you got in there for us to look at? The tips.
So the next thing would be a Berkeley Jaywalker, and what I like about this one is where when you don't know where the bluegill beds are, and you're trying to find those fish. This one I feel like can cover a lot more water. You can work it a lot faster, and you can find where those bluegills are with this bait when you can't see them. And I mean, this thing, you can clear the reel with this. And I usually throw it on a Revo EXD, and it'll throw it a mile, and I'll just work it wide open. And the cool thing, I couldn't find my top water box, because I think I either got jacked at the last tournament or I left it somewhere. But what I do like to do is sometimes the hooks will get caught in each other, and then they'll just kind of get, when you cast and stuff, sometimes they'll get tangled just like that. And so what I started doing was I took this back hook here, and I would put a short shank treble on there with a feather, and it seemed to really solve that. It seemed to the bait would float really well, and it would have awesome action. You'd never have to worry about the hooks getting twisted or anything. And yeah, that's what I would do. I'd use that, especially where a lot of us now are getting, especially down south, the fish are starting to stop bedding. They're starting to move off the bank a little bit. They're starting to get on bluegill beds. That's one of my favorite to find them.
What about with that deal too? Like, the whopper plopper and that style of bait has become so popular now. Is it good to go back to a walking style bait like that to kind of give them something different to look at?
I think so. I think what I throw the Chapo, which is the same thing. It's similar to the Whopper Plopper. It's got a little bit harder tail. I think it runs a little bit straighter. And where I use that is shallower water. When I'm fishing, like right on the bank to maybe 2.5, 3 feet. That's where I really like that Chapo. Where I'm throwing the Jaywalker, I'm more deeper water, giving them a little bit more time to come up, in that 5 to 7, 8 feet, 10 feet, out there, just it gives them just a little bit more time to come up and get it. I think with the walking style.
You mentioned too being able to bomb cast it, throw it a long way. That seems so important on the bluegill bed type stuff. And when they're wolfing, you got to get something in front of them before they see you. Is that
right?
So that's interesting. So what else you got? You got us a swim jig there?
Yeah. So then the other thing I got, this is one of my favorites. This is what I've thrown for the last few years. I'm sure if any of you guys have seen any or watched any live, I usually always have it. This is a dirty jig swim jig. It's Alabama brim, and I'm throwing a Max Scent meaty chunk on the back. Wow, man, that is hard to. Everything's backwards on there. And when I'm gonna throw this, I always have it on. Throwing on like 40-pound X5 Berkeley braid, and it's another thing, just like the Jaywalker. I cover a lot of water. It's weedless, so I'm able to, like, especially in like flooded water conditions. When I'm trying to locate fish. I mean, those are my two like main locators, is the Jaywalker and the swim jig. And just wherever I can't throw the Jaywalker because it gets, there's too many weeds or debris in the water, that's when I use the dirty jig swim jig.
I noticed there that you got your trailer, just kind of the hook ran through the body of the trailer versus
So what I do is this is old style. Like anybody, like that's how when I first saw anybody rig a jig trailer, that was it, right through the center. The whole threading it on kind of came on down the road after that, and I did it for the longest time. I threaded it on. It'd have something with 2 pinchers on the end, either like a crawl or something that had some action that you could just reel the jig. What I liked about this one and just hooking it old style, if you can, it's something you have to get down while you're working it to make it look fluid in the water. And to me, I just can get so many more bites on it. And I don't know if it's because not many people are doing it anymore and it's just an old time thing or what, but it just, for me, I mean, I haven't put another trailer on in probably 3 years. It's the only trailer I've been using.
I've been threading mine on for the longest time, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I will be running the hook through the middle of the bait. I'm not going to argue. The trailer. I'll read the sun backwards, upside down.
Right.
However I got to do it. So That's good.
Right.
Well, let's see. What about? I guess we can hop on over to the anglers. Break down your water. This is a little segment where we like to take a viewer's lake, pond, river, whatnot, and break it down using the Angler app. So let's see if we can pull. Let's see here. I'm still getting used to this whole deal with maneuvering around and sharing screens and whatnot. So there's from time to time I'm not ready. But so here's the Angler app. This is Yatesville Lake in eastern Kentucky. And I'll be honest with you, right? I marked a couple things, but it looks a lot like a Smith Lake.
Oh yeah, I like the way that one looks.
Uh-oh.
Honestly, not this is probably going to be my most favorite part. I mean, this is I spend every night when I know where the tournament's going to be. I spend so much time doing this, and there's been no tournaments, so I've been kind of really waiting to really look at some satellite images.
Yeah, we're going to see if anybody, if you've fished this lake before. It's Yatesville Lake in eastern Kentucky. If you fished it before, comment over here on the side. Let us know how we're doing on the breakdown, if we're completely off base or if we're kind of making you think it might be something to check out. But actually, best I can tell, looking at it real quick, it's one of those lakes that are running upside down, which blows my mind, but that happens a lot. But it looks like that's the dam kind of on the north end up here. Best I can tell again. That's kind of both ends. There's a marina down there I marked, and then there's a little old honey hole up that river I marked. That's that little yellow. So that's the cool thing about this app. You can actually go in and drop waypoints, and they got a bunch of built-in ones, and then you can actually do custom ones and everything too. Dot, rock, whatnot. So here's the marina down here, and I marked this because shad's phone. I mean, it should be. We talked about that with John Cruz last week on his segment of breaking down your water. And what do you think about that? Would you go in there and do a little something?
Oh yeah, man. I'm not the best at throwing around docks, but they do. I mean, I've been whooped from underneath them docks, especially on lakes like that. I for instance, Smith Lake, which looks that looks like Smith Lake just turned around. David Williams, I finished second to him in one of them, and then someone else beat me the other time, and they were the same thing, was catching that shad swan first thing in the morning. I always miss out on that because I usually don't get up early, so I don't think I've been on a shad spawn bite in a while. But those guys, they say it's incredible first thing, and they really load the boat really quick on stuff like that.
The key to Cox's success: sleep in. Sleep in, avoid the shad spawn, and then you just got to catch up, and it makes you better. Right. It's adversity. Imagine if you did get up.
I know. I keep thinking. I'm like, I should probably really try to find the shad spawn. Who knows? The tournament's starting later. I might have to, so we'll see.
If you started at 16 or 17 pounds right off the bat, and then went out and coiled up with your catch throughout the day, and you end up with 28 pounds.
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't do that, because I still fish a few tournaments, and I'd rather not get mauled over by you when you do that. See, moving around, I mean, that looks like I said, down near the dam, best I can tell. I mean, it looks so much like Smith. That's the dam there. Maybe where it's Smith.
It looks like it.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to move up, and what you'll see, which is a lot like Smith, there's not really a lot to go on from the satellite imagery, other than there's just a lot of little pockets and cuts and little deals. And that's what, like, especially when I don't know if this like floods, but that's one of the things I've seen you do that's so cool. Is like you'll get these little guts when the water goes way further back here. All of a sudden, you'll be back in the woods. I went looking for you in an FLW tour event on Smith Lake, and they sent me your GPS location. And I'm arguing with the guy that sent it to me, saying, "You're full of crap. He's not back in his pocket." I'm looking at trees. I'm looking not a cypress swamp where you can wiggle back. I'm looking at the freaking forest. It's solid wall trees.
Right.
And then I'm sitting there arguing with the guy on the phone, and here comes John back out. And the next time he sent me a waypoint, I just pulled my boat up on the bank, power pole down, got out on the bank, and walked. Try to find you, and you were back there again. So would you say that'd be something to look for if it floods? I mean,
100%. Like, a lot of times those flooded areas, on the map, you especially want to look like, I don't know if you're even right where you're at, like you can see where the creek goes back, and you can kind of see a little clearing, like right in there. As soon as you get in, there's a little bit of a clearing. That's the kind of stuff I'd look for in that flooded scenario, to where somewhere when the water comes up, you can kind of you can kind of know you can kind of get to an edge.
Yeah.
That's flooded areas. It seems like that edge is just such key, because when they can go too far back, it just it spreads them out too much, and you can't really find them concentrated.
Yeah.
But that definitely, I mean, you can see it right where it's just a little bit cleared on that point in there.
Yeah. It looks like maybe
Yeah, right there. That's where they'd be.
that's where they'd be. You just got to wait for the water to come about 7 or 8 feet.
Yeah.
Back to not knowing what we're really talking about, but we're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and you get a lot of that. So with these little deals, all right. So here's the question. Again, you see, there's just a lot of these little fingers off this deal.
Right.
Do you look for the longer ones, the shorter ones, the ones closer to the river?
You know what I do? Like, so a lot of times, I try to remember. I mean, the whole thing is going in. A lot of times, especially on that lake, if it's like Smith, it's very hard to tell from a satellite image which ones are the good ones because there's so many of them. But what I would do, like if I'm pushed for time and I don't really know, I look for anything that looks similar to any other lake I've been to where they had the same kind of layout and arms, which don't know why. Even like this one that we're just talking about, how it's got your main one goes in and then it's got a small hook going in. A lot of times I like the way that looks because see how that's like a perfect, it's like you got a deep channel swing on the right of it, and then you have that shallower point going in. I mean, you can sometimes pattern those, especially like going into the spring, and then when they're coming out too. And sometimes they'll be spawning on that shallower side, and then if it's too cold or the spawn's over, you'll find them on that deep side, and then I just run those pockets, and some are better than others. And
it looks like too that there doesn't look to be a lot of cover, wood, grass, anything like that.
Right.
So that kind of bank, like you're talking about on the left there, looks like what I've caught them before when they're wolf packing and around.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Got that little bit shallower bank, and they'll just be down the bank with no cover.
Right, and there'll be certain key areas that you can't see on the image that you'll have to visually fish to find. Like either a piece of wood or an itty bitty lay down or something like that.
And then if you do catch them right there, luckily you have about 1 million of little pockets.
Yeah.
So, another thing on this, do you find that, like, okay, you caught them in that pocket we were talking about, that the mouth's facing north? Do you go and look for those same type of pockets?
Believe it or not, the place I've seen it really make a difference was I was on Table Rock, and the fish were coming up, and it was amazing how all the northern, the pockets that were protected by the north wind, and they were in lower lying areas where there wasn't any mountains. It was flat, just where you could see where it was a little more flat in that area. They were all in those pockets, and you could easily just zoom in, and you would kind of see that there wasn't as much mountain area, and it would kind of get flattened out. And boy, they were spawning like crazy there and nowhere else.
Yeah, I'm looking on this map, and there is not a lot. It looks like it's pretty mountainous all around there.
Yeah, it is. It looks really deep everywhere. So I mean, this
creek here, maybe it looks like it runs in a little further, so it's probably got less of a steep bank to it, and it's
right,
and it's protected from that north wind. So might be something like that.
Yeah, that one does look. I like that one, and just to break down that whole finger right there. So if we started like in the spring of the year, when fish are coming in, if it's a slowly warming up, if it's gradually getting warmer each day, and it's not an extreme warm, you'll find a lot of them fish spawning in the back there and in those 2 fingers in the very back. But what happens a lot, especially like the last couple of years, we've had like extreme weather changes where it's freezing one day and then we're in like the 80s, and the next day, when that seems to happen, and almost like those fish don't even migrate all the way back, and they just come out from the main lake, and when you go out towards the mouth there, they just kind of get on those the closer pockets going in. They just don't even travel all the way to the backs in those scenarios.
For those just tuning in, John Cox and myself, Shaye Baker, are breaking down Yatesville Lake on the ANGLR app, and this is water that neither of us have ever fished, and I honestly didn't even know it existed until the request came in through my Instagram. We put up a little question out there, and let's see, what was his name? Massey. It was Hunter Massey hit us with this one. So be looking for that next Wednesday. We'll put up another post in my story on Instagram, and we'll try to get some more suggestions to see what kind of lake we want to break down. While we're still in here, I mean, there's a lot to break down on this thing. I mean, like I said, it's a lot like Smith.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. There, see where there's a pinch point right there? That looks like a really good arm. Yeah, right in there, right? That would be definitely a place where I that's the kind of stuff I look for where fish are gonna travel in and out of there. Um, it's just a good pinch area where those fish are gonna come together.
I mean that.
That's your spot.
I took that.
Marking that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, finders. I got the patrol over here. Me and a buddy look good. And before we cast it, because we were in the middle of a cast, I go, mine. I just go, yeah. So that's where we were calling entire creeks and lakes and everything. So if there's ever any kind of confusion, that right there does look fantastic, and I've called. All right. Yeah. So the one thing I want to do before we get off here, and like I said, there's a lot to look at, but we're going to move way down upriver. And before we do that, Derek at ANGLR is watching stuff in the background for me. He wants to know what baits we would use in those arms.
So I mean, even the ones we went over are perfect. Because I don't know where anything's at, especially if I didn't have a time to idle and I just had to go fish. I would definitely take the Jaywalker, and I would throw the Jaywalker around those smooth banks. Where there's only little bits of cover on them, I imagine. And then on any of those banks, a lot of times we'll get flooded and we'll get like, all like the sawdust mats and little piles. You get all the trash after. And I think we just had a really hard rain, so there probably is a bunch of that stuff in those arms. That's where I would take the swim jig out and just swimming around, flipping into some of that stuff. Just, working under the water, some just kind of cover water and try to find what pockets have the active fish in them.
And we're headed to something that I think you're going to like. And I just looked real quick just to make sure that I could find Yatesville whenever he recommended we look at it. But looking up here at the honey hole I marked earlier, look at all this.
Wow.
Don't that look like somewhere you can knock a
that looks perfect back there. I mean, it looks like low water might be a little tricky to get in there. And then, that looks amazing right there. I really like the way that looks. That's got everything you'd want right there. It's got
popping frog.
Oh yeah, and I mean and you're gonna get, you're gonna early spring, you're gonna catch spawners in there. As it goes on, and you get the bluegills to bed in there. Yeah, it's got everything. And then even back into the fall, that's where I'm going first thing. You can have the little blow through there. I'll take that one.
I'd say you trim her up, literally. You wouldn't shut down until you probably hit right there.
Yeah. That's what I'd probably do. Start back there and work my way out.
So when you're fishing those places like that, you like to start in the very back of them and fish your way out?
It really depends on what the weather is and what time of year it is. If it's just starting to warm up, or we've had a lot of rain and the water's starting to clear up, I probably would go towards the backs. Try to find where the water's starting to clear up first. But I mean, I don't know. That whole area looks good. That might be a place I might have to just throw the trolling motor down and fish all that area up there, because it looks really fishy.
Yeah, it does look pretty stiff.
It does. It looks real good.
So I was looking at it. It looks like this is the main current. Or like you know what I mean. So on all these little, if you did have some current, what would you focus on here?
Yeah. So I think what will happen there is once it starts warming up and it's starting to get hot and you got that main flow, all them fish are going to pull out of that backwater area, and they're just going to get on on either those ends or lay downs. Yeah, any of those openings, they'll get at those mouths. And that's going to definitely be, when you're breaking down a river system or fishing up a river, you always seem like your best parts of the river are where you have those spawning areas. Those just seem to be the most productive, where you got more fish all coming to a smaller area.
Throw a little square bill on that right there.
Oh yeah, yep. I'd square bill them if the sun was out, and chatterbait them or throw the jig on them if it was cloudy.
Chris Flay asked earlier, what's your go-to chatterbait or vibrating jig? Is it a chatter?
I just been throwing the Z-Man ones forever. I mean, it's just I've thrown the original one for a while. I really like the custom one a lot. Um, I'm trying to get into the whole jackhammer thing. I throw my chatterbait a little bit different. A lot of guys that throw it, they throw a lot of open water, and fishing in the hydrilla and stuff, and they kind of let it get out on the bottom. I like throwing like mine a lot closer range and shallower water, only like in like a foot or so. And but I'm working on throwing it out deeper.
I'll say that about the jackhammer. When I first saw, and I love Z-Man stuff, and when I first saw the jackhammer come out and the price point, I was like, man, I don't know if you can really improve on the original or the custom
Right.
that much. But one
Right.
thing I say about that Joker, for fishing out deeper and for fishing more open water,
Hmm.
it does start instantly. Like, and you give the regular one a couple pops, and if you're up around like a shallow grass mat or a shallow grass field or whatever, you're gonna have
Right.
to catch it all the time anyway. So up
Right.
shallow, I never really worry about. I just throw that same one. They got good hooks in them. The clips are good. They've been
Right.
the custom big time, and I'll just throw it up there and give it a pop and start reeling it. But you can throw that one out deeper and let it sink, and man, as soon as you turn the handle on that,
It's right.
it starts rocking. And that was
Right.
the thing I was most impressed about by that one for like the type fishing you're talking about, that more offshore and deeper stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
What about this? I mean, we can't even. We've done work. Oh, look at this. That's mine.
Ooh, that's nice there.
Uh,
That's real nice.
that's a whole big old spawning flat. And
Yeah,
this little.
that's the kind of pocket. What I like about that pocket is early spring. The water's still pretty cold. You got some dirty water there. That's where I'd love to go in there, and I would take that half ounce or quarter ounce war pig and just throw it around. It's like a lipless bait, and just crank it around that shallow water. And boy, that looks like one of them holes they'd get on it. You could just go around it all spring and get them.
You got a lot to work with in there. All right, so that was fun. Breaking down your water. Did you enjoy that, John?
Yeah, I did. I needed that. I'm hoping we can get back to doing that pretty soon, but we'll see.
Would you recommend the Angler app to a friend?
Oh, without a doubt. I know we got the new rods that just came out with the clicker in them. I mean, that's I'm going to definitely have a couple, especially in practice. I mean, how awesome that is. You can just go and you can get in the area and you can just click your spot and just keep moving. Never have to do anything.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what John's talking about, Abu Garcia and Angler partnered up to put the Angler bullseye, this little deal here, where it is right there, in the butt of a virtual rod. You go out and you can link it to the Angler app that we just had up on the screen. And then when you catch one, you click the bullseye and it marks a waypoint in your app. And then we've actually got it where now you can link these bullseyes to Lowrance graphs, and working on linking them to other graphs too. But we've got it figured out where we can link them to Lowrance graphs, so you can reach up and mark a waypoint on your Lowrance graph now, which is pretty neat. And
That's amazing
in the app and in your Lowrance graph. So when you go in at night and you want to look at, you don't have to go back out on the boat, power on the unit, sit there and try to look and see what you did. You pull it up on your phone and you've got the same waypoints and what we like to call pattern points, like what we did there. We went in yesterday, John Cox and I, or a couple of days ago, we also went in and marked up another lake. What lake did we mark up? I can't remember.
Red River.
Red River? Yes, we marked
Red
River.
Mm-hmm.
Some patterns.
We showed some juice on that one.
I told John, we don't have juice. I don't need to know where you won tournaments and where you got 5 pounders and everything. He's like, all right, but look right here. This is where I jumped.
I was reminiscing.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got some really good pattern points over in we'll put the link to that trip where you can download the app and check it out for yourself. We did basically the same thing we just did for y'all of Yatesville, but we did it at the Red River. So that's pretty neat. And that's the Angler app in a nutshell. It's a digital logbook and a whole lot more. You can do a lot with it. So we're going to move. We might take a couple more questions here towards the end. We're an hour in, so we'll shut it down pretty quick. We got a segment here at the end where a buddy of mine, Scott Butcher, does a lot of this kind of stuff, and he's got a deal at the end of his shows where he rolls out the red carpet and allows the angler to thank their sponsors, thank their family, tell us what you're thankful for. So I always like to give him a little shout out there for kind of inspiring this. But my take on that is put the plug in. That's what you got to do.
Speaking of that, I actually I've always remembered to put the plug in, and it was like 2 days ago. I did not put it in, and that boat was pumping out water all day. I was like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. But I'm super thankful. Especially for my family right now. I mean, we have it. We're trying to do schoolwork every day. Everything's online. It is just we're kind of stuck in the house. It's pretty crazy, but we're gonna get through it. And then Crestliner and Mercury, they've been with me forever. I mean, I love fishing in the Crestliner. I love running my Mercury. I mean, it's what we do. We go fishing every day. So, and Berkeley and Abu Garcia, I couldn't ask any more from them. I mean, they have come out with so much amazing products the last couple of years. I mean, I have stuff that I mean that's what I do. I go out every day and I try new baits they have. I try different techniques with them, and man, I'm just telling you, we got so much good stuff over there, and I'm still learning a lot of it too. So I mean, I'm excited, and all the way down to power pole Lowrance. I mean, those you gotta love them power poles. Love the Lowrance. I don't. Everybody thinks, oh, you just shallow water, you never use them. Boy, they've come into play so many times for me. When I would get out there and do a little bit of idling. But yeah, they're just awesome. And I'm also this year got a Teenage Marine jack plate on there. Love that thing. That thing is awesome. And they're just great too. And yeah, and you know what else is cool? So I've been running Battleborn batteries last year, and last couple of years I would run. I'd have 3 in the back, and then I'd have 3 other spares on the floor, and I would swap them out when the back ones would die. I'd be like, Benji, we got to change them over, and we'd swap out the other set. So now I got 2 sets of 36 in there. So I got 6 12-volt Battleborn batteries, and they're awesome. And I can just as a if one set somehow dies, if I never crank the big engine and I run them all day, I'm able to switch over to that other set, and that's super cool. And I'm able to run around and still have plenty of juice for another 4 or 5 hours. Good. And that's about it. Well, I don't want to do any more housework, so I'm like, we need to get these tournaments going. We need to get back out there fishing.
We got a couple more questions we'll take here at the end.
Okay.
What color swim jig from Robert Bakewell? And tell John Bakewell.
Hey, Robert. I really like the Alabama brim color. It's a color I've been using forever, so I just really I don't really change up too much on colors, try to keep it simple. And it's like the best for me. It's the best like bluegill / kind of shad looking, kind of covers everything, but I mean, that's gotta be one of my favorite.
Next question. He's coming for you, bro. I'm just going to go ahead and warn you. I mean, he's calling you a little bit of a sissy. Does John think he sets the hook hard enough? Has he fished fish and blamed it on the hook set? Seems like he set the hook. Like
I reel into them a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I don't. I'm not the reel down and really jack them. So I mean, I'm more almost like a pressure hook set where I reel down and drag the hook into them. But I think it changes for different baits and stuff. And yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't think he's arguing with you either. In all offense, because a lot of people do reel down and crack them, and you're going to fish either way, and you're going to second guess yourself either way. And I mean, did you change the hook? Should you change the hooks? Shouldn't you change the hooks?
Right.
So that's some good questions. Appreciate everybody in the audience coming in. Appreciate you, John.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for everybody for coming on and hanging out this evening.
I'd be remiss if I didn't show these pictures because I had these. This is John Cox, and not all, but the bigger tournament trophies he's won out of a metal boat. That is ridiculous. First of all,
yeah, that was pretty neat picture. That was back there in the backyard.
Yeah, that was
pretty cool.
There. And this photo couldn't have happened without obviously getting the trophies out of the house. So we were like, out there, let's help you. Like, we'll ease them down there. And you're like, got it. And you threw it in a wheelbarrow. I almost literally mean threw them at times. Pick one up and it's like spinning and like a screw's falling out of it. And you just kind of like, oh, man, that was fine. And like the Forceful Cup is there. I'm trying to be so careful. I'll just tote it. Just let me tote it. Maybe the only time I ever touch one, I'll tote it. And you're like, oh man, the kids drag this one all over the house. And I start looking at it and dimples all over it. It looks like it took a baseball bat to it. Dude, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? I guess the memory matters, huh?
Right.
Oh
man. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yes, no. We got a few more questions here. Nate wants to ask, how did you get that in the cup?
How the dent of the dent? That I think it was it you or Lily? Someone.
Yeah, it was you.
It was, someone threw that thing. I don't know who it was, but it got thrown somewhere. But for a while there, after that tournament, I was flying all over the place, and I would just take it apart and throw it in a suitcase and check it. You know, so it was going all over the place with me.
Damon wants to know if you love him.
Oh yeah, of course I do. We need to go catch some peacock bass again. I'm glad Damon was in a coma there for a while. I'm glad he got out of that and he's all better now, man. He had us all worried for a while there.
Yeah, I was real worried too, Damon. I want to go peacock bass fishing. Come on, man, help a brother out. Derek wants to go.
He hooked last time we went. He hooked one. It was probably the biggest one I've ever seen. It had to have been 10 or 12 pounds, and he still had his drag cranked down from when he was saltwater fishing or something. That sucker broke him off instantly. It was a great big one though, the biggest one I've seen.
All right, well, John, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. Had a great show. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. That was fun.
I'll come see you sometime. Feed that fish. See if I can.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right, see you, man.
Well, that's it. That is Wishing I Was Fishing, episode 2 with John Cox. Good dude, hammer. You know, I'm gonna put these pictures back up just in case you really couldn't see them. We had it. Look at that. Would you just look at it? Just look at it. Look at that. That's a. Just look at it. And then this is also ridiculous, but he catches them, and he don't really worry about much else. He just goes and catches them. Appreciate you, John. Enjoyed it. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's get the word out about the show. Next week's guest, my old tournament partner in college, Will Hammer. Actually, that picture up there on the wall, that was either the year he was with me or the previous year, but it was Jordan Lee. He's in a few tournaments. He's a little bit out there in the tournament world. So we got Jordan Lee on next week, Thursday night, 8 Eastern, 7. You guys come back and check it out. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Your questions, we'll try to give you the answers. And don't forget about Wednesday. I'll put up something in my story if you want to know what lake y'all would like for us to bring down next. See y'all next time.